To set the scene here, we're on the Foothills Trail. The direction we're going in, we're going to start off at Table Rock State Park in South Carolina, and we're going to end up at Oconee State Park, also in South Carolina. Along the way, we're going to venture into North Carolina, and we don't go into Georgia, but we do follow the Chattooga River, which if you go on the other side of the river, you're going to be in Georgia. But 78 miles is what the brochure says. So we're looking forward to a nice hike, and we're going to bring it to you. Hey everybody, it's Barry with Tri-Hooky Outdoors, along with my sidekick and team dietitian, Brenda.
Hi.
We started out at 9 o'clock this morning on the Foothills Trail. We drove up yesterday from Central Florida, about a 9-hour drive to Oconee State Park in the northwest corner of South Carolina, where we got a ride with Haywood Douglas, one of the members of the Foothills Trail Conservancy. He drove us to Table Rock State Park in South Carolina, and it's up to us to walk back to the truck. So it's about a 76-mile hike. We're underway. Lots of small waterfalls on the first part of the hike, first probably half a mile or so. And from there, first part of the trail here climbs to the peak or the summit of Sassafras Mountain, which is the highest point in South Carolina, 3,000 and some odd feet. I'm not sure what our starting elevation was, but first few miles have definitely been uphill, and we've lost the stream, so that's to be expected as you get higher up. Alright, one thing I was noticing about this trail is the attention to detail and the amount of work that the people put into this. Little bridges to make your crossings easier. There's been several little short bridges that just kind of go over a gully. Something that you don't see on most other trails. Yeah. We got a tight fit in between here. See if I can do this without falling down. Success so far. It's a very misty and overcast day. It's keeping the temperatures down, but it's not going to give us much of a view at the top of Sassafras Mountain. There's some huge rock outcroppings. If you got your eyes on the trail, you won't even see them. But they're up there. It's definitely not what you think of when you think of South Carolina. I think of Myrtle Beach, Charleston, flat. I guess they call that the low country. This is definitely the high country. Hurricane Irma came through here, I guess 4 weeks ago, and hit this area pretty hard. Hayward said that they were spending all free hours, all their free time out here clearing the trail, cutting blowdowns, trees on the trail, trying to make sure that the trail is clear for us hikers. Got us a rocky bald here, and if, like I said before, if it wasn't so overcast, we would probably have a really incredibly nice view. So you'll have to just imagine a really nice view out that way. Alright, for the first part of the hike, the Foothills Trail has coincided with the Pinnacle Trail. Is that what it's called? Pinnacle Mountain Trail? Anyway, we just now split off, and we are now on just the Foothills Trail. And as you can see, it's still very misty. But still keeping the temperature down. Feels good. Probably low 70s. Trail update. We're stopping for lunch. I think we're about 5 miles in. We found a really cool overlook. And we're gonna cook us up some noodles of some kind.
Cup of soup noodles.
Cup of soup noodles. And we're going to eat a couple of these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Cooked over our alcohol stove. This is what the inside of these packs look like. We got a day's worth of food in each one of these Ziploc bags. And because we don't know what kind of temperature we're going to hit, we got our down jackets and our raincoats and all kinds of good stuff. We're a little heavier than we were last time, I think, by maybe a pound or two. I'm not sure. I think I didn't weigh with the water, but packs with the fuel, everything but the water, because we didn't have the water yet. They were about 23 pounds. I was about 25 maybe. So we're still under 30. We're a bit heavy though. I mean, I'm not as light as I was last time. Well, that is why they call this the Foothills Trail. That is the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Was it 300 and some million years ago? Africa crashed into the North American tectonic plate, probably being driven by a woman. Anyway, the impact caused all these mountains. Very interesting. Very slow geological process. Trail update live from the trail. We're about 7 miles in. Probably about 2 miles from Sassafras Mountain, the peak. Something worth noting on a point-to-point through hike like this, something that's got me worried. I've never been a brilliant student. I'm always the guy that would show up and forget his homework, or if I'm working around the house, I go to Lowe's and I forget something, I have to make 2 or 3 trips. I've been constantly wondering if I've forgotten to bring something. And when your car is parked 78 miles away, you can't just go back and get it. You can't reroute and take a shorter trek. You got to take the course. So, I'm hoping I haven't forgotten anything. I've gone through the list in my mind, and we've already used the cook kit, so I've got the cook kit and the fuel. So I'll update you if I forgot something. This is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Keep you from slipping. Yeah. We're at the tallest point in South Carolina, 3,640 some feet. Anyway, nobody is higher than us. Alright, now we're going to start heading down because it's starting to get late. We're going to find us a place to camp, hopefully next to a water source, and we're going to call it a day. I'll update you when we get there. Spiderweb. More stairs. I think there's lots of stairs on this trail. This is only the beginning. Alright, it wouldn't be a Tri-Hokey Outdoors adventure if I didn't screw up. It's getting kind of dark. What happened is we were using the Foothills Trail guidebook. We left Sassafras Mountain thinking that there was a campsite 0.8 miles beyond that with a water source. Turns out the way that book is laid out, it resets mileages in each section. I'll try to take some time and show you this. But anyway, the campsite was 8 miles into the next section. So for the past 3 miles, we've been looking for a campsite that wasn't there and a water source that wasn't there. So now we've got water. Doubled up, I filled up all the bladders, and we filtered and filled up all of our bottles. Now I've got to race back here, and we've got to set up a stealth campsite. And by stealth campsite, I mean it's not a set campsite. It's not cleared out. We're just going to find a flat spot in the woods and go with it. I'll update you when there's something to update. Breakfast of champions. Breakfast squares with a granola bar with oatmeal and hot coffee. Nothing gets your blood pumping like a good breakfast. We are set for, we pretty much got our camp broken down. We just got to put our food back in our packs and wash up our pots. Anyway, to not make the same mistake that we made yesterday, we've planned out and calculated the total mileage so we can use the book. So we have a camp option at, what did we say, 9 miles?
Just under 10.
Just under 10. And we've got another one at
14.
Just under 15, so 14 something. So it depends on how we feel. We are free and easy in the woods.
Sort of.
Well, day 2's hike is underway. We got on the trail about 9:30, and it feels pretty nice right now. It got down to about 65 last night, and that's official. I brought a thermometer this time. So anyway, the low for last night was 65, and this is October 15th. As you can see, it's misty again, so probably won't be getting any views until later in the day, but I don't know if there's any views right now. This was not a good place to start talking. Anyway, we are on the trail. We'll update you when there's something to update you on. This section still seems to have a lot of blowdown from the hurricane. I'm sure it'll be cleared out pretty soon. I wonder if this is the campsite that was supposed to be 0.8 miles from the road crossing that we did back there just after our campsite. Not very big, but you don't need to set up your tent. You got a rock roof over your head. Another creative bridge here after some blowdown. Irma really hit this area hard. I guess you don't have to live in Florida to get hit with hurricanes.
It's far inland too.
Yeah.
I mean, north and inland.
All right, no fat people on this bridge. Look at that, there's not much room for error there.
Wow, you're not kidding. I'm bouncing like a ping pong ball.
I know.
I really am. I keep hitting my left side.
Each time you cross a road, you have these well-marked signs here to look for on either side, so you don't have to wander up and down the road wondering where the trailhead is. So this shows that we have been 14.2 miles.
But that's not true.
Yeah, that's not what I've got.
No.
What do I have?
We had 14.2 when we got to the campsite.
That's true. 14.2 miles, but I've got 16.2.
Yeah.
So either my Garmin is off or they've changed the course a little bit to, well, that would be a lot. That's 2 miles.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? It's a mystery. The world may never know. Time to filter some more water. I'm gathering some off of these falls here. That way it avoids any little creatures that are crawling in the water or any sands or sediments that are suspended in the water. I think I've said it before with this gravity feed system where we can put 4 liters in the top bag, collect 4 liters in the clean bag, and we can fill up our bottles. This came in handy last night when we didn't have a creek nearby our camp. We could fill up the dirty water, filter. Anyway, we had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 liters of water at our disposal to drink, use to cook, and to clean with. Sure beats walking back down to the creek to get more water. It is lunchtime and we're going to sit us down and grab us some food. We usually just eat, I don't know, sandwiches or granola bars or something. But on this trip, we are experimenting with hot meals. So we're trying some ramen noodle soup along with some, there you go, Crustables. Uncrustables. Peanut butter and strawberry jam sandwiches. They worked with us back when we were doing our Ironman training. We would go on, I don't know, 5-6 hour bike rides, and we'd just stuff those Uncrustables in our back pockets and stop and consume them. How many calories? Any idea?
For what?
For the sandwiches, yeah.
Well, like 210.
210 calories per sandwich. 2 of those going to be 420. And then we've got the soup. So
Which is like 380.
So we're at 700, 4, 5, 6, 700, and so 700 or 800 calories. Not bad.
For the weight and
yeah.
volume.
The partially the soup, we kind of thought it would be a little cooler on this trip in October, but such was not the case. It feels like summer, but we're supposed to have a cold front moving in on Monday.
It's supposed to be
which is
colder
tomorrow.
as the week progresses.
So maybe we'll have to put on those down jackets that we got. So I don't know. We'll find out. All right, this is where the people on the Food Network take a bite and go, mmm. See the eyes closed? Mmm. So here we go.
You're probably going to burn your mouth.
It's hot. Mmm. Mmm. That's good. Alright, we got full bellies. Hitting the trail again after lunch. We have 2 options for camp tonight. One of them is in about 4.5 miles. And the other is closer to 10 miles. I know it's a big difference, but that's just what we came up with. I can't remember the thought process now. But anyway, we'll probably stop at the first one and just call it a day and relax, because we did more than we thought we would do on day 1.
Yeah, we'd still be on schedule.
Yeah, we're still going to be on schedule for our pace. Well, I think we're a few weeks too early to be catching the leaves changing. Another couple weeks and probably add a lot of color to this area, but it is very scenic nonetheless. We are involved in a South Carolina rain shower. It's warm enough that it feels good, actually. Kind of rinses us off, gets some of the stink off of us. I don't smell bad personally, but Brenda smells bad.
I washed last night.
she allegedly washed last night.
A trail bath.
A trail bath. Anyway, we're getting wet, but it's all good. That's what life's all about. Some of these blowdowns are pretty bad. This one had to go up and over and under, and I'm taller, so I take the high route, and Brenda's shorter, so she takes the low route. Alright, this section of trail is supposed to be 3/4 of a mile long with 7 bridges crossing the stream. There's one right up there, and we've crossed one. We kind of didn't keep track. Anyway, we're on one of the bridges, obviously. Alright, this is either bridge number 4 or bridge number 5, I think. I don't know. Let's get a video of Brenda going across it. Alright, check it out. There's a bench out in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure how far we are from civilization, but
maybe it's for day hikers on a section.
yeah, maybe it is. I'll say we use it. Let's sit down just to get a picture of us.
Okay.
Just so that whoever built this knows that it's being used. How's that? I can do a screenshot. We'll just snap. You ever seen a tree with a mustache? I haven't until today. Check it out. It's like a 1970s porno tree. Alright, the guidebook mentioned a suspension bridge about a mile from our campsite. And we rounded this turn, and what do we see? A suspension bridge. I'm going to call this scene hiker walking across a suspension bridge. Cut. Alright, it's before 5:30. We have selected a campsite right here next to Laurel Creek. Quick tour of our camp setup. Again, I said we're on Laurel Creek. We've got the tent over here, and we were frivolous and brought the extra weight of a tarp, but we just had a little rain shower, and just in case it rains more, we're covered. I figure we can do that. I'm wiping some rain off the top of the camera. We can do that because there's two of us, and I'm carrying the tent. Actually, I'm carrying the tarp too, but that's another story. But it's worth it. It gives us security, and we know that we have a place to get out of the rain without having to get into the tent. All right, this is a demonstration of the Coors Light aluminum bottle cooking stove. First, you got to find a stable spot. It's easier if you use the flint and steel. You just give it a like that. You can see the flames coming out of the top. Once they start coming out of the holes on the side, it's ready to cook on. Probably would be safe to move the fuel away from the fire. Usually it takes a few seconds. Alright, it's starting to come out of the sides. And there's what we want. Now it's ready to put the business on there. You gotta,
which I don't like doing.
You gotta be very careful. I need to build something more stable. But as you can see, it's cooking. I've seen, you go on YouTube, you can find all kinds of videos on how to hang a bear bag. But if you look around here, there are no trees with branches. I mean, branches worthy of holding a 30-pound bag. So, this is my invention here. I took two trees with little stubby branches, threw the cord over one, put a carabiner on it, tied a knot about center ways across, and I threw the other end of the cord over there so that when I pull on this cord here, the bag goes up and away, and it's right in the center, and I just tie off one end of it. Now I'd love, if anybody has a better idea, I'd love to know it. That's been our problem the past 2 nights. There's no trees with these beautiful long branches. People say, Barry, how do you smell so fresh and clean out on the trail for so long? It's called a hiker's bath. Put wet wipes. Same. What are they?
Trail bath.
Trail bath. They're the same things that you wipe a baby's butt with. Only instead of a baby's butt, I'm doing mostly my underarms and my neck. Anyway, that's the secret. Trail update. It's about 4 a.m. It's been raining buckets for about an hour or so. I just wanted to point out one of the disadvantages of a single wall tent. 2 people breathing inside creates condensation on the inside. And when the rain hits the outside of the tent, it dislodges that condensation onto all the people that are inside the tent. We just bundled up all of our down stuff and stuffed them into a sack and put on our raincoats. It's not like we're getting soaking wet, it's just like a fine mist. So anyway, the idea is to keep the down stuff dry, and hopefully we'll dry out in the morning. That's all for now. So it's 9:30 on day 3, starting off day 3, leaving the campsite. It's about 9:30. Of course, I wanted to get started about 9. I should expect this. I'm always late. Spider webs. But we had extra tarp to take down and everything was wet, so we sort of waited for the rain to stop this morning before we started packing up, because it's a lot harder and heavier to pack wet gear than it is to let it dry out a little bit and shake it. So anyway, we're heading back on to the Foothills Trail. That was a very short little offshoot that took us to the campsite on Laurel Creek. And we should have Laurel Falls right up here. I believe there's a campsite right at the top of Laurel Falls, but we weren't fast enough. There was a guy that was already up there, which is probably good because I probably would have fallen off it or something. But we'll give you a shot of that when we get on the front side of it. Alright, here is Laurel Creek Falls with a wide angle lens. I took a couple of still shots. I'll post those on there at this location. Alright, on we go. According to this sign, we've been 22.6 miles, but my Garmin says 27.02. Somebody's lying. We added probably a little bit just going to that campsite, just a few hundred, maybe 1/10 of a mile maybe. Oh well, we're on our way. Because it doesn't matter what you call it, we got to go to Oconee State Park. Follow us. Looks like we're at the top of the ridge now, so maybe a little gentler on the legs. I'm sweating like a Thanksgiving turkey, but my dietary friend back here still has her jacket on.
Quite comfortable.
I think it's her lack of body fat.
Oh, please.
She's so dang healthy, she's got no body fat. Actually, we just did a thermometer check. That didn't come out right. Actually, we just did a thermometer check. Sometimes my lips move faster than my brain, or vice versa. Anyway, it's 61 degrees right now at the top of the ridge, which is actually a little chillier than it was at our campsite down below. I believe that rainstorm was a cold front that's moving in. I believe we're expected to see some lower temperatures now. Maybe mid 40s at night and 70s or so highs during the day. Which is cold for us Florida people. Ooh, that's winter. Hey Brenda, what state are we in?
Right now we're in South Carolina, still. We haven't crossed over.
I haven't seen any signs anyway. But apparently we are in North Carolina because we have a sign here that says entering Gorges State Park, North Carolina. You can't argue with the sign. Is that Gorges State Park or Gorgeous? Gorgeous. Well, this trail covers rocky mountain peaks with overlooks and mountain streams flowing over rocks and waterfalls, and now we're at Jocassee Lake. I'll give you a better view a little bit, but I wanted to point out right here there was a very confusing part of the trail. As you can see, there's a lot of blowdown, but the double blazes indicate a non-intuitive turn. Anyway, if you look here, the trail goes down to the lake and towards the left. But one of the blowdown victims was this double blazed tree right here, which indicates that we should go to the right, that way. So we're back on course. A potential disaster was alleviated because I was trying to blaze a trail down that way. So let's do it. Trail update, we're stopping for lunch. We've gotten, what, about 4 miles, I guess? Something like that? 4.5, I don't know. But we're at a good campsite here. This is the designated, I think, 5-day, if you're on the 5-day schedule, this is your campsite here. Very big. Right on the stream here, which is not very far from Lake Jocassee. It feeds right into it. So we have a water source here. We're going to cook some lunch, filter some water, and we'll be ready to go. Party on. That is one thigh burner of a climb after eating lunch. Oh yeah. Work off those 800 calories. I think I burned off probably 700 of them right back there. Whew. That felt good. Look at her. If the footing is good, she is a mountain goat. And I mean that in a good way. I like mountain goats. That was a steep incline followed by an even steeper descent. Those steps, I don't know if I'd call them steps, but more like a ladder along the side of the hill, side of the mountain. We were saying it was strenuous probably if you're going up, but treacherous if you're coming down. And they put a bench up here. Isn't that convenient for people that still have their jackets on after breakfast? Well, you had it on since breakfast.
Yeah.
Can stop here and take their jackets off. Right. I'm sure that's what it's here for. Here's another campsite. This section of trail takes us around Lake Jocassee.
That'd be hard to get to the water, though.
Well, I think the water level is pretty low. I think that's probably all wet out there during the rest of the year. If it's like Fontana, they drop the level down during October, during the fall, for some reason. For anybody looking for good campsites, there's a couple of good ones right here along the, I'm really not sure what the name of this water is here. It feeds into the Lake Jocassee, but we're just before a suspension bridge up here. But might be worth looking at if you're planning a hike through here. All right, here's another sign. It says Oconee 48.4 miles that way, but it says Table Rock, which is where we started out, is 27.8 miles. Now we've got 32, what did I just say? 32.85.
So it's pretty consistently staying 5 miles off.
Yeah, we're about 5 miles off somewhere, and we haven't gotten lost this time. Yeah, I don't want to jinx us, but we haven't gotten lost. We had to, you know, like I think I said it before, we had to go to a water source that was maybe probably added half a mile to a mile, but oh well, it is what it is, and we're having fun, believe it or not. Let's go. All right, here's the steps. Only the beginning.
They had to rest there.
No.
The exact same thing, right there.
There's another thank you, Irma.
Wow.
Hurricane Irma. There used to be some really nice steps coming down there. Now there's a nice tree. Firewood, free firewood.
Yeah,
it looks like we're starting the section that starts to climb and takes us away from the lake. I can feel it in my legs, but we're about maybe 5 miles or less from camp, so there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we're having fun. Right, Brenda?
Yep.
Alright, this incline is not going to show up on the video that well, so just use my breathing. This is steep. I got a feeling we're going to go to this top of this mountain and then immediately start right back down the other side.
It's going to piss me off.
But at least on the other side, there's a campsite with our name on it. Holy cow. Yeah, after that initial climb from the lake, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a hellacious climb, but things level off and you have this ultra wide, luxurious trail. Looks like a fire access road, but it's gently sloping up and down, more manageable, gentler on the legs. I'm thinking we're probably about a mile or maybe just a little bit more than a mile from camp, and it is 3:30, so hopefully we'll get there at a decent time, be able to set up and maybe dry out some of the stuff that got wet last night. All right, here's one of our landmarks that we were looking for. Power lines.
Yay.
That means 1.1 miles from our campsite,
Yay.
if everything's right. I gave a wrong distance earlier because I read the map wrong again. But at least I shouldn't say anything.
Don't say it.
Okay. I won't say that I haven't gotten us lost yet. That's camp for the night. We're probably going to eat, relax, and then go to sleep. So the next time you see me will be on day number 4. Total mileage for today was 39.3, I think, something like that. Still, that's more than what the guidebook says. We're still 5 miles off somehow. But anyway, we'll see you in the morning. Good night. All right, we're up early. Trying to get an early start. We've got 16 or so miles today, which doesn't sound bad, but we learned yesterday that there's a lot of blowdown, and a 2-mile-per-hour pace slows down really quick when you have to climb over and under and through all kinds of stuff. I would like to say that out here in the wilderness, these stars are very bright. It's a beautiful, clear night, even though it was a bit chilly for us Florida people. All right, we are about to be on our way. We got a bunch of stuff to pack into the packs. We'll update you when there's something to update you on. All right, day 4 is underway. A bit of a chilly night. Got down to, I think, 39. But we're underway. Got us an early start because we've got a big day today. Hopefully there's not a whole lot of blowdown. That's the only thing that can really hold us up, unless we have to wade across any streams, but I don't think that's going to be an issue on this trail. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that at least one of the members of the Foothills volunteer group is a civil engineer at Clemson University. We're not very far from Clemson, actually. Just based on the number of bridges and the different designs, from suspension bridges to simple logs to, I don't know, it's just very creative. Usually you hike a trail and you see the same type of bridge, but we've seen all kinds on this trip. A bridge lover's dream. It's about 9:30, about 45 degrees. I brought this damn thermometer, so by God, I'm going to give you some temperature readings. It's weighing me down by, I think, 1/4 of an ounce. And you can feel it on some of these inclines. This section is going through a little rhododendron forest, and we've crisscrossed the stream several times. It's kind of tranquil, hearing the sound of the running water over there. I love sleeping next to a stream like that because it just puts me to sleep. All right, this is what devastates your pace. We're supposed to go through there. All right, this is called making your own trail. This is why it's hard to find a good pace, you know? We've got 16 miles to do today. And being runners, we think, you know, when we were preparing for marathons, 16 miles, we can do that in a couple hours. This is going to take us all day, and this is why. This is why. This is what makes hiking so adventurous and fun. There's a trail here somewhere. And we have Hurricane Irma to thank for this. There we go. Hercules! Alright. She's got her mouth full of food. Don't look at her. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. This is lunch with a view. I'm not sure what the name of this creek is called, but it is very beautiful. We're decided to stop and eat lunch here and fit in with our schedule. We've been hiking for about 4 hours. So we're about 7 miles from camp. If our calculations are right.
Which I'm checking right now.
She's checking the book right now. So hopefully we'll get there before too late. It's about 12:30, I think, isn't it? Time check.
Yeah, 12:40.
Yeah. When we stopped it was about 12:30. Yeah. So hopefully we can make it before dark. If it's, I mean, we've been making good time, but I don't want to get too cocky, because if there's blowdowns and trail closed and all kinds of mess. Anyway.
Enough talking.
Enough talking. Let's eat. At our lunch spot back there, we ran into a trail maintenance crew. These particular guys was a crew of 3 guys. They were subcontractors with Duke Energy. Apparently we're on Duke Energy's property. And so apparently there's several jurisdictions that you go through here. You know, who's responsible for maintaining. Anyway, they asked where the trail was bad. We gave them some locations. And hopefully the next people that come through there will enjoy the cleared path. And we appreciate all that they do out here. Sign, I got the sun there. Sign says no camping within the Whitewater corridor, and right when you walk past it you see all these beautiful campsites. It's like a teaser. That's why this is called the Whitewater section, or the Whitewater corridor. Beautiful scenery and a challenging rock scramble. Takes me back to my younger days. Back when I didn't take as long to heal when I fell. Very challenging section. Lots of rock scrambles and jumping from one rock to another without having sure footing. Trusting your jump, I guess is what you'd say. Having faith in where your foot lands and ready to accept the consequences. We're taking a quick view of the mountains out there because, again, the guidebook is giving us some conflicting stories. I don't think our campsite is going to be as easy to find as we think it is. It's another mile and a quarter, I think. But I think we have to either branch off to the right or the left. Anyway, we'll let you know when we get there. Hopefully it won't be dark when we get there. Alright, we branched off onto a spur trail that's supposed to lead to some water sources and some campsites. It's starting to get dark, so you may or may not get an update after this. Alright, change of plans. We're walking back out. This is supposed to be a 1¼ mile spur trail that goes back towards 281, North Carolina 281. It's supposed to have multiple water sources and lots of places to camp. But unless you have a hammock, I haven't seen the first place. We've walked a 1/4 mile down this spur trail and haven't seen anything. Alright guys, I got to admit, it's kind of a rush. We struck out on the past couple of campsites that we pulled out of that guidebook. One of them was just nothing. The other one, the wording was confusing, you know, whether or not the spur trail was a 1/4 mile off the trail or the spur trail was a 1/4 mile down the trail leading to a campsite. We tried one of them, went a 1/4 mile, nothing. The second one, we did the option where we went a 1/4 mile down the trail and looked for a spur trail. Didn't see it. So we filled up water and said, we'll just hike into the night if we have to. But we got to the top of the ridge here and found this site. It's a beautiful site. There's no water, but we've got water. But this wasn't even listed in the handbook. And we got the tent set up, got the food going. Brenda's eating Chex Mix. She looks pregnant. What have you got under your shirt? Not a baby. All right.
No. Mitten.
But finding a spot like this at the last minute, just before sundown, is like coasting downhill with the needle on empty and power sliding into the last gas pump. Well, this is our stealth camp that wasn't on the map. This is one of our better campsites, actually, and it wasn't even listed. It's probably about no more than a 1/2 mile. I'd say a 1/4 mile to the water source down the ridge, or down the trail there. We're on the ridge. We figured we'd find a flat spot up here, good enough to pitch a tent. So we filled up our water bladders and water bottles and brought them up here. And like I said, it was one of the best nights. We get to watch the sunrise. It's about 8:30. We're underway, leaving our campsite at the top of the ridge, heading to our next campsite. Should be about 14 to 16 miles. There's 2 options, unless there's an option 3 that, like tonight or last night, that we didn't know about. But anyway, the longer we go today, the shorter our day is tomorrow, and the sooner we can hit the Mexican restaurant and have some cervezas and burritos and get us a hotel and get a hot shower. Brenda's starting to smell. I smell fresh and clean, just like I always do. Well, it wouldn't be a Tri-Hooky trip without a screw up. We got going, and I realized I forgot to start the Garmin. So Brenda's still up ahead of me. I told her to keep going, and I ran back and started the Garmin at the campsite. So our distances will be 100% accurate. And after climbing to the peak back there, pretty close to where our campsite was, we hit 165 feet, something like that. Anyway, that's the second highest point on the trail by far. So for the most part, from here on out, it's downhill. I mean, there's going to be some uphills and downhills and uphills, but we have no more really big climbs. So light packs, no climbs. This is almost like a vacation. It is a vacation. All right, we've been about 1.5 miles or 2 miles since our campsite, and it's a dang good thing we got that site, because there's been nothing over here. We would have been totally screwed, and it would have been dark while we're on this side. And something to point out about the campsites on this trail, they seem to come in batches. I mean, there's some very beautiful, don't get me wrong, some beautiful sights along the sides of the rivers and streams and all that good stuff. But there are some stretches where there's nothing. And depending on your timing or possibly the direction of travel, if you go from Oconee to Table Rock, maybe it's different. But we've had two situations where we get to the end of the day and can't find a place to stay. So, no room at the inn, as my wife said. I noticed it seemed to be getting a little chillier, so I had Brenda check the thermometer that's on the back of my pack. And it's 40 degrees, so it's dropped 7 degrees since we left our campsite. And even then, the overnight low was 45. So this is getting close to the 39 degrees that we saw at Bear Creek campsite. I might have to put a jacket on. I got it. I passed the test. Let's see if, yeah, Brenda got it too. All right. I thought that was just a little waterfall, but it goes way up there. It just keeps falling. That would make a hellacious water slide. You probably wouldn't survive it. You just do it one time. I could see my daughter saying, "Hey y'all, watch this." I won't mention which one, but you know who it is. Trail update. It's 56 degrees. It's warmed up a little bit. This is actually perfect hiking weather. We are probably, I don't know, maybe a mile from where we're going to stop for lunch. Should be along a creek or a river or something. I can't really tell. We'll find out when we get there. We're heading to King Creek Falls. That's where we're going to eat lunch. That's King Creek right there. Well, we're stopping for lunch. Been about 10 miles since we left the camp. We're stopping along King Creek. This isn't the actual falls. This is just one of the falls leading, I guess, downstream from the falls. But anyway, we found a good spot to eat, and that's what we're gonna do. Brenda's checking the guidebook right now to find out what our next move is. I think we're far enough along that if we just find a good spot, maybe along the Chattooga River, I'd like to just set up camp there, because we could hike the final day. We could actually do that from here if we wanted to. Well, our bellies are full, and now we're walking off those calories along this side of the mountain here, overlooking the beautiful Chattooga River, made famous by the movie Deliverance, one of my favorite movies. I keep listening for banjo music. You know, this trail runs from South Carolina into North Carolina and then back into South Carolina. If it could somehow cross the Chattooga River, it could throw Georgia into the mix, because I think that's the state line. All right, we document this for us just as much as we do for you. She didn't hit her head this time, but we made it to day 5 without Brenda falling, but we've got one casualty. Her walking stick is now my walking stick. She has my straight walking stick.
Fall.
Well, I know, we made it to day 5, and she took a slide. Looks like a big old tree blew over from Hurricane Irma, leaving a big divot, and the trail kind of drops sharply and then comes up sharply in the root bed where the tree was, and she went down. But she didn't go all the way down the side of the mountain. She used her stick, which is a good idea to carry a walking stick. Just a note here, since we do seem to be somewhat injury prone, usually it's me, not her, but that's the reason that you see this thing on my right shoulder, this yellow device. It's a satellite transmitter. It sends GPS updates to my kids and anybody else that I give a link to the website to, so they can follow us on a map. But more importantly, it provides us with an SOS button, so that if something drastically turned sour, life-threatening, I can push a button and search and rescue would be on us like flies on stink. Alright guys, that's the trail. It reconnects over there, but it's supposed to go through here and up here. This is what makes a 2.5 miles per hour hike into a 1 mile per hour hike, or even less. It's been like that. I jokingly said after our last blowdown, I said, let's see how many steps we can take before our next blowdown, and we rounded the turn there and there was another blowdown. Speaking of which, here's one here. Alright, we found home for the night. This is in the notebook called Sims Field. It's a very big, wide open camping area, lots of fire pits, very flat. It's right along the side of the Chattooga River. So, we got us a water source, we got us a flat piece of ground, a fine looking woman. What more can you ask for?
Covered in dirt.
You know, we're camped out here next to the Chattooga River. Remember what happened to Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty and John Voight? Was it John Voight?
And one other guy.
And one other guy.
He played the
guitar? Yeah.
Can't remember his name.
It didn't end well.
No.
Hopefully our story will end well. We got one more day. This trip demonstrated the importance of checking the Weather Channel, but also throwing in some leeway. Because when you're out here for 6 days, you can't run back to your truck if you need another jacket or anything. Check the weather report and it said 45, 50 degree lows. But as a precaution, I always subtract 10 degrees. So that gave us 35 degrees as a low. And as it turned out, last night's overnight low was 38, which worked out with our setup. We had the down jackets with the hoods and the 30 degree quilt. So we were snug as a bug in a rug, but if we had prepared for 45 degrees, we would have been cold. There's always something good to look at over there on the Chattooga River. It's almost a bad thing because I'm looking at the river and not looking where I'm walking. And I have come close to walking off the mountain and into some animal turds. This is what blowdown looks like after it's been hit by a cleanup crew. Makes it a lot easier to pass through that area when you don't have to climb over a tree or climb through a tree or climb up the mountain to go around a tree. Thank you to all the workers that spend so much time out here clearing the way for us. I know there's a lot of work to do, but you've done a lot of work to get us to this point. Hurricane Irma, that is, seems to have just devastated this area. This sign says we're 6 miles from the finish. We're almost there. Ran into some guys back there that said they have spent years to complete this trail. I guess they do sections of it here and there whenever they have the time, which I think is what most people do, actually. All right, we made it. 76.2. Let me push stop here. I've got 87.32. I'm going to take my distance. I like it better. It makes me sound more manly. It was a beautiful trail. Very well marked. No risk of getting lost because I'm a well-known lost person. I would like to say kudos to the guys that marked the trail, though. It's very easy to follow. Just follow the white blazes and you got it made.
Even you couldn't get lost.
Thanks.